Episode 7, the reason why. And so this week I have been working on developing some of the content, the programs that we're doing, and really thinking about the process that we're going to have when we do launch, of the individuals who we want to become part of the incubator program and how we develop it from there. And a couple of things came up this week. First and foremost, I got to have my first executive meeting with the potential COO and CTO, subject to contract, but I know they're coming on board anyway. But we had a really good meeting, sat down and really spoke about the nailing down the vision of Legacy 71, where it is we want to go, and basically the vehicle and how we want to be able to do it. For those who haven't been watching these videos or aren't aware of what it is that we do, there are three key verticals that we're working in. So financial, so fintech, health tech, and ed tech, so finance, healthcare, and education. And three conversations came up this week which really kind of like inspired me as to why these areas are important. So let's talk about, in no particular order, let me talk about the first one. So in health tech, one of the areas that I'm really passionate about is, I think I may have mentioned this before, but I think there's a lot of work that is done in the healthcare sector which tends to miss out on the healthcare needs of women. And given that women make up 50% of the world, it's quite surprising, maybe even more. It's quite surprising that not enough energy and effort is being placed on that. Sometimes when you think about a lot of the design that is made in this world, I say, for example, up until 2011, a lot of seatbelts weren't designed for women in mind, and women would get involved in less car accidents than men. But when they did get involved in an accident, it was more serious. Why? Because the seatbelts were designed for men, especially in the front, or for average-sized men and not average-sized women. And women have smaller vertebrae in the back of their neck, so if there was an accident, there was more chance of them getting serious whiplash. And such things like that just really make you think that this is why it's so important to have an inclusive and diverse workforce. And when we're talking about diverse, I'm not talking about diversity of thought, which is that nonsense where you still get the same amount of people in the same room who look the same, smell the same, behave the same. I'm talking about individuals with different experiences, from different genders, races, abilities, backgrounds. And so for me, there is a lot that's happening that doesn't really cater for that. So I've been talking this week to a couple of friends about endometriosis, which affects probably between 10 to 12% of the women in the UK, as much as diabetes, but doesn't get as much coverage or recognition. But this is a really chronic situation that affects women, and alongside fibroids and other related diseases, which cause women a lot of pain and cramps. And there is no tech or tech-enabled kind of push to really address this, and it kind of really surprises me. And whether we create that within the incubator or not, or whether we find organisations that already have that and work with them, either way, these are the things for me that are really important. Is it scalable? Yeah, 50% of women, 50% of the world is made up of women, and a large proportion of women have to be able, well, a large proportion of women or people in womenhood are going through situations which may not be endo-related, but it is about pain management, especially when they are menstruating. And I don't feel it's a shame to have a conversation about this. I think it's important that both men and women are able to have a conversation about how we can create products and systems to be able to address this. The second one I wanted to talk about was around finance, around financial inclusion. And I take it, for example, for me, I got cards from challenger banks like Starling and Monzo and N26 and Revolut, and all I had to do was literally take a copy of my driving license or my passport, upload them in there. 3 days later, you got a card coming through your door, you got a bank account open. But so often that doesn't take into consideration the fact that not everybody has access to Wi-Fi or a phone, or the accessibility to be able to do the stuff that a lot of us take for granted. Access to credit. I was talking to my friend Mel today, and we were just talking about, even when people come out of prison and we talk about rehabilitation and bringing them back into the wider society, because there isn't access to work and access to credit in the same way that somebody who doesn't have a criminal record, what incentive is it for that person to be able to go on the straight and narrow when they know they can make money cash in hand elsewhere, or whatever other non-legal way, because something like the criminal record could stand against them. And for me, I think there's such a massive opportunity within the financial technology sector to be able to work on creating financial inclusion products, which effectively brings people at the base level, but then you build credit and you build reputation. And those are the guys who you want women later on when you're trying to sell wealth products and insurance and all those other kind of financial products that so many companies try to send out, not the bad ones, but the good ones, so that people can be able to access. I even think of people who are not as wealthy and they may be short of funding. There's a real kind of predatory approach to financing individuals through payday loans and sharks and all the rest of it, especially in more economically challenged environments. But with the technology that we have today, why should that have to happen? And the last one was around education, and I believe even as we're developing out our own courses, there are so many ways of being able to have not only the education of children, and I'm not just talking about in school, because we think a conversation I've been having this week is with individuals who are really passionate about being part of homeschooling networks, or those who want to set up supplementary schools that can provide a kind of more culturally relevant education for students outside of main schooling. And how do you do that without the use of really good technology? And then there is obviously lifelong learning and development within the corporate or the professional spaces in the third sector and the public sector as well, which often is overtaken by some of the larger companies. But the truth is that the level of engagement isn't the same. And I believe there are some really, really key opportunities to be able to explore through the vehicle of this incubator for a lot of potential that people haven't really tapped into. And while there is this big focus from a lot of organisations to get these really big wins and these really huge, again, as I said, you know me and my whole thing around unicorns, I reckon there's a real massive swathe of organisations who can start to make small dents into the universe with their organisations, catering for these shortcomings around health, around finance, around education. So for me, going back to that this week has been really powerful. It's really reminded me of why it's important to have a really robust course, really robust framework around our coaching for those startups, and a really robust network so we can tap into some of those larger organizations, the larger banks, the larger health organizations, not just the NHS, I'm just talking about other ones, and education as well. So this week has been, the last week my energy was a bit low, this week is a lot better. I actually went out as well, I'm going to tell you all now. I had to go and get my new glasses, looking like Malcolm X up in here, which I basically use more for watching television or driving. It does make me look sophisticated, but then I can't see, when I'm this close to the computer, I can't see what I'm doing. But it just reminded me that, it's important, again, health, to take care of yourself, and to make sure, as we're developing these programs as well, that well-being and good health is at the center of what we're doing. So that's the update for this week. And I met a law firm. I'm not going to mention the name of them, but really, really good law firm that has done a lot of work with technology companies. I do believe that if they're the one that we're going to work with, it will be a good balance. I'm very, very well aware that us being part of that team, a black-founded company, being aligned with this law firm, will help for some people to tick certain diversity boxes. Let's keep it 100%. But at the same time, it is about how can we really serve our clients by having the best professional service firms around us who can help us to not only think on a local level, but on a global level as well. So that's it. Again, this week has been a better week, a hell of a lot more motivated, got some real good stuff going on next week as well. And, end of March is going to be the countdown for one of our big milestones, which you probably heard about me talking about before in terms of our fundraising. I'm really excited about that, but really putting this stuff together has been good. It's tiring, but it's really good. So I want to encourage anybody else who's out there building their business, and going through the moment at the moment and knowing that it's a bit of a hard slog. It's definitely, when you know your reason why and when you know for whom you're serving and what you're actually going to do, it can be incredibly, incredibly powerful and motivating, as it has been for me this week. So thank you for tuning in again, and see you in the next episode. Until then, peace.